This is Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
I'm the only lawyer ever to obtain a court ruling that a president of the United States committed a crime.
For truth. For competition.
As a young lawyer, I helped break up AT&T. That's why you have all your cell phones today.
For sovereignty. For the Republic.
I'm the guy who, at Judicial Watch, which I founded, uncovered the Chinagate scandal. Millions of dollars going to the Clinton campaign, corrupting our political system.
For the privacy of citizens.
And I'm the only guy to have enjoined the National Security Agency from mass surveillance on hundreds of millions of Americans.
Tearing it up.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
Bringing it back.
We're going to take this country apart and put it back together again in the way envisioned by our founding fathers.
It's not just talk.
We're not just regurgitating news stories. Larry Klayman, special prosecutor, is making the news.
And now, here's Larry.
Welcome to this edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. We have a great show. It's more than a show. It's about what we're doing to try to save the Republic. And I'm very honored and privileged to have been asked to represent Dr. Jerome Corsi, a great American, a great author, a New York Times bestseller, an investigative reporter, and someone who is in the line of fire of Special Counsel Robert Mueller and his ultra-leftist comrades at the Special Counsel's office. Now, you've seen him on television throughout the week. You've read about him in the newspaper. This is a story that's getting both national and international attention, because what has happened is that Dr. Corsi has been asked to lie under oath by the Office of Special Counsel Robert Mueller if he doesn't implicate Roger Stone and President Donald Trump in alleged criminality with regard to this so-called witch hunt, the investigation of Russian collusion, which is not even a crime, and obstruction of justice. This is a story basically of our times. This is, how my once great alma mater has been perverted by evil forces of the left. And make no mistake about it, Mueller, while he's an establishment creature, and the left likes to point out that he was a Republican appointee. Yes, he was an establishment Republican appointee. Someone who is the product of the swamp. Someone who, as an establishment Republican appointee, collaborates with the establishment Democrat elites in Washington, D.C., because Donald Trump has always represented a threat to them from the very first day that he announced his presidency, where he said he was going to break up the money train. He was going to break up their power. He was going to change the way Washington does business and make America great again. And Robert Mueller has become the vehicle to do that. He's become the messiah of the political left and those forces of the establishment of both political parties that want to bring our president down. And who gets caught in the crosshairs but Dr. Jerome Corsi? Because he's now being alleged to have had communications with Julian Assange of WikiLeaks, and in conjunction with Roger Stone, passing that on to the president of the United States. Well, you know what? That's not even a crime. Unless he actually participated in stealing the emails of the Democratic National Committee and Hillary Clinton, including John Podesta, her campaign head, that's not a crime. And clearly they didn't do that. No one's ever said that. So this is all trumped up, so to speak. No pun intended. Maybe it was a pun intended, because this is a way to try to bring down the presidency. And Jerry Corsi was threatened with prosecution if he didn't lie, if he didn't say that, in fact, there was some kind of collusion here. And when offered a plea deal, which was intended to be kept secret because even the special counsel didn't want it known just how felonious and criminal it was, Jerry said, no, stick it. Now, I'm not equating Jerry Corsi or myself, who's Jerry Corsi has asked to represent him along with his previous counsel, David Gray, to Jesus Christ. But, he also told someone to stick it. That was Pontius Pilate, the Romans. He was asked to lie. He was asked to say, okay, I can save your life if you just admit that you're not the Son of God. And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. I am the Son of God. You stick it, Pontius Pilate, and you stick it, high priests, because I am who I am. And Jerry Corsi is who he is. And he is standing up not just for his rights, but he's standing up for the rights of the entire American people to try to restore a system of justice and, in fact, to restore democracy to this country, which we have all but lost. And that's why what I'm doing today in representing him. And Dr. Corsi advised me and instructed me to prepare a criminal complaint against Special Counsel Robert Mueller and his conflicted staff, including Aaron Zelinsky, including Andrew Goldstein, and including Junie Rhee, who I went up against many years ago representing the Clinton Foundation in a RICO case, that they have engaged in witness tampering, they've engaged in threatening a witness, that's Dr. Corsi, and they've engaged in obstruction of justice. They also have fatal conflicts of interest that need to be addressed. And today, I am preparing, as I have in the last few days, a criminal complaint to file with the acting Attorney General, Matthew Whitaker. The former Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, has been taken out of play. He's no longer involved in this entire sordid witch hunt. And also to file it with the Office of Professional Responsibility, which is the disciplinary arm of the Justice Department, my alma mater, and the Inspector General that works in conjunction with the Office of Professional Responsibility that is also called OPR. And in conjunction with this fraudulent plea agreement, which would have required Dr. Corsi to perjure himself by implicating Roger Stone and the president in illegal wrongdoing, as well as others, Junie Rhee asked my client to keep it all confidential, which is another felony, because he would otherwise have to report it to a government agency named FINRA, and to fail to do so if you've been, in fact, subject to a plea agreement or indicted or convicted, you have to do. So they've committed a number of crimes. And on top of that, Dr. Corsi, who was threatened with being indicted if he didn't sign this plea agreement, it would be a big mistake for Robert Mueller to indict him, because this will give an opening to him to challenge Robert Mueller's mandate. He's far exceeded the mandate that he was given by Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein at the time when Attorney General Jeff Sessions recused himself. And he also lacks constitutional authority to even be the special counsel because, as Mark Levin's pointed out and others have pointed out, including yours truly, he had to be confirmed by the U.S. Senate. You know, Whitaker does not need to be confirmed. He's only an interim appointment. But Mueller clearly did, as has occurred in the past under similar circumstances. So this would be something that would be completely detrimental to Robert Mueller. We can take this issue up to the Supreme Court if necessary. And Jerry Corsi is sufficiently in the line of fire. He's sufficiently involved in this entire witch hunt that the Supreme Court, now a conservative majority, would likely listen to. And I don't understand why the president's lawyers, and I've said this before, have not done this with the president. The president obviously would have been the best person to take it to the Supreme Court. But instead, these lawyers have told him to go along, to get along. They are establishment creatures themselves. They're nice people. But they spent more time going on cable news networks like Fox News than actually doing their job. They could have also filed complaints for the illegal surveillance on the Trump Tower, which obviously caught the president in illegal surveillance in the web, his family, his associates, Michael Flynn is a good example, others. Sessions, and that's probably why he never wanted to do anything, because he was worried about what he was saying to the president at the time. Even if he didn't say anything that was wrong, he didn't want to be implicated as part of the entire matter. But it is Jerry Corsi now and Larry Klayman and David Gray, my co-counsel, who basically have the keys to the kingdom in our hands, is that we now have the standing, the legal standing, to take this matter all the way up the line and to finally end the reign of terror of Robert Mueller. And that's why I ask you to support Jerry Corsi. He's been financially ruined. He's been brought to his knees. Go to CorsiNation.com and support his legal defense fund. I'm representing him in a private capacity. And also go to freedomwatchusa.org, because we've been uncovering the illegal grand jury leaks of Robert Mueller and his staff. You know, one of the things that we've uncovered is that his press secretary, his press spokesperson, Peter Carr, we have all kinds of correspondence that we obtained in a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit before Judge Emmett Sullivan, showing that these reporters would call in and they would ask for information about these secret grand jury proceedings. And Peter Carr would say, well, I can't talk to you over the phone, or I can't send you an email back, but let's go to this French cafe on Pennsylvania Avenue called Paul. It's a French cafe, and I'll talk to you there. And while we didn't get all the documents that we sought, and we're fighting to get them because there's lots of redactions and there are lots of things that obviously been withheld. And in fact, the special counsel's office even incredibly claimed there was a computer glitch and they couldn't produce everything. Heard that one before? That we're pressing for that because we are convinced that these grand jury leaks, which are also criminal and are included in our complaint, and you'll find that at LarryKlayman.com. You'll find it at freedomwatchusa.org on Monday. You'll find it all over the media. It's going to be an explosion when it's filed. We are making the case that Robert Mueller engaged in criminal activity, not just by obstructing justice, witness tampering, threatening witness, which is Jerry Corsi, but illegal grand jury leaks. And this, with the grace of God, will be the undoing of the special counsel, because now we have the attention of the nation and the world. And I am fortunate to have a client that will stand up to this government tyranny, just like I did with the Bundy family, who stood up to tyranny at Bunkerville, and like I'm doing with our other clients who are doing the same, Sheriff Joe Arpaio and others, because there is a war of the left against the right, and they will use whatever means they can to destroy us, and in the process, destroy our great President, Donald Trump. Now, this week, another hero by the name of Laura Loomer, who was just banned from Twitter because she made criticism of a Muslim representative of Congress, a female Muslim representative, and just simply talked about what Islam teaches, which is, harm to gays, which is disrespect for women and other things. She didn't say anything that isn't already known and generally accepted. But Twitter removed her from its account permanently, which damages her financially severely, will probably drive her into bankruptcy, as Mueller's trying to do with Dr. Jerome Corsi and others. And in fact, Laura Loomer happens to be a Jew. She's a Jewish conservative activist. And I filed and amended a lawsuit, which we had filed at Freedom Watch, against the social media companies for censoring and suppressing conservative content. Laura Loomer was also removed from Facebook by Jeff Zuckerberg, who incidentally is also Jewish, but he's a self-hating Jew. And he's someone who allowed an intifada page to stay up for a very long time, even after the Prime Minister of Israel demanded it be taken down years ago. That intifada page called for the killing of Jews. So this is a serious matter. We're going to talk about it in the latter stages of this show. Stay tuned.
Fearless.
He's claiming he's crazy, he's racist, he's out to kill the Democrats.
Dangerous.
I don't care. He uses the court and the law.
Lethal.
This is bad.
Special Prosecutor
Very bad.
Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
I want to introduce my very good friend, someone who I admire a great deal, who I feel extremely privileged to legally represent. I've known Dr. Jerome Corsi a long time. We've worked on various projects together, and I'm now serving as his legal counsel. As you know, it's been published all over the nation and the world last week, along with David Gray, his other counsel, a very fine lawyer as well. And I want to ask Dr. Corsi, Jerry, we call him, what he's been going through. I want to get an understanding, and I want you to understand the persecution that he has experienced and what he's doing about it to try to solve the problem, not just for himself, but for the entire nation. Jerry, welcome to Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman.
Larry, great to be with you, and I'm also honored to have you join my legal team. As you're right, we've known each other for a very, very long time. I've respected your work, and we've worked together in various ways, and I can't think of anybody I'd like to have better than join our legal team when my freedom is at stake than Larry Klayman. And I think you and David Gray are going to make a great team. Thank you.
You're welcome for those kind remarks. It's a mutual admiration society. Jared, tell us about, what's been going on, the lead up to this for people that don't know all about it, and what we're doing to put an end to this Mueller witch hunt.
Well, Larry, it started on August 28th, which was really 3 days before my 72nd birthday. and the two FBI agents show up at the front door of our home in New Jersey. I'm speaking at that time in my study with my wife, and they announce they're the FBI, and my wife Monica says, "Well, here we go," and that's the beginning of it. I mean, from there, I was called down to participate in the grand jury appearance before the grand jury. We offered with David Gray to do a proffer and cooperate. I turned in freely and voluntarily my computers, my cell phone, my email accounts, my Twitter account, my Verizon phone accounts. I signed over everything to the FBI and the special counsel, and what resulted was 40 hours over 6 sessions in 2 months of agonizing, sheer hell, in which I felt like I'd somehow landed back in Nazi Germany, and these were the Gestapo. The very first day of trying to cooperate with them, they're threatening to throw me in federal prison for the rest of my life because I forgot a couple of emails.
Well, that's unbelievable what you tell us. It's of course what we've come to in this country with the system of justice, which has basically collapsed. And that's one of the reasons why, not just withstanding the fact that we're friends and that I believe in you, Jerry, but this is a unique opportunity to try to change the course of history, and not just for you, which is extremely important. You're my client, but for everybody concerned, because there are a lot of people out there who have lost faith in our system of justice. They see what Special Counsel Robert Mueller and his band of leftist prosecutors are doing, conflicted, I might add. And this week you sent out a tweet instructing David Gray and I to do something for you, filing a criminal complaint before the U.S. Department of Justice with Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker, with the Office of Professional Responsibility, which is like disciplinary counsel inside of the Justice Department, and the Office of Inspector General. And we're going to be alleging a number of different things. But tell me and tell the audience what it is you had in mind in having us push back like that.
Well, I was offered a plea deal. I had been on the media, and the special prosecutor, when they threw us out, said that let David Gray know that we were going to be charged with the willfully and knowingly presenting false information to the federal authorities, namely the special prosecutor and the FBI, with the intent to deceive. And I said, wait a minute. I was on the media. David calls me. I was driving up to the studio door of NBC Studios at Rockefeller Center. I had also an interview that afternoon scheduled at ABC, and David says, just drive on. You can't give the interviews. I said, well, what's going on, David? He said, the special prosecutor will offer you a plea deal if you get off the media. So at least I got off the media to see what was going on. And we got the plea deal. It was as fraudulent, Larry, as this interrogation had been. I mean, the plea deal, first of all, demanded that I appear before a federal judge, a U.S. district judge, and swear that I had violated the statute, at which point I would become a felon. And my first problem, Larry, was I'm not going to swear before a U.S. district judge and God that it's a lie. I did not violate that statute. I went to cooperate, and my mistake may have been mistakes of memory. I'm 72 years old. These were events 2 years old, and I'm not a human tape recorder where you can punch a button and you get everything back precisely that happened 2 years ago. And even more, as we discussed these conditions with the special prosecutor, this was going to be a secret, sealed, swearing in I was a criminal before a federal district judge, sealed. The records were going to be sealed. There was no promise that there'd be any sentencing, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. If I did anything to violate, made the prosecutors unhappy, which meant I'd have to end my career. My First Amendment rights would be dead because they wouldn't come to the sentencing and recommend no prison time. They'd say, well, Dr. Corsi did violate. He violated the terms of this agreement, which I thought were outrageous. And
Jared, we're going to be right back with the next segment, and let's continue on with this story. Stay tuned.
And now, 4 words that make corrupt politicians make wee-wee in their little pants.
Transparency and the rule of law will be the touchstones of this presidency.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
Be the one who makes our country great again. Go to freedomwatchusa.org and donate.
Jerry, continue on with this story, horror story, for lack of a better word, as to what the special counsel's tried to put you through, how they've tried to extort false testimony, how they've tried to paint you in the corner in an effort to get not just to targets such as Roger Stone and the president, and he is a target, there's no doubt about it, but what the implication is for you and your family and everyone else around you.
I think the prosecutors wanted me to be able to link Roger Stone to Julian Assange. It was going to be Roger Stone, Jerry Corsi, Julian Assange for the coordination that was required of this Russian collusion story, which I think is a complete hoax. And then from Roger Stone back through Bannon to the president on the other side. And the problem is, I never met Julian Assange. I've never spoken to him. I had no communication with him, and I don't have any intermediary. But on my 25th wedding anniversary, 2 years ago, 2016, when I took my wife and family, we went to Italy. I believe on that trip, I figured out by connecting the dots that Assange had Podesta's emails. And I began from Italy telling people that was the case, including Roger Stone. And prosecutors say, you couldn't have just come up with this yourself. It's impossible. I said, why? I do it all the time. It's my job, connecting the dots. So when I couldn't give them the answer they wanted, suddenly the prosecutors are now threatening, throw me in jail for the rest of my life. I'll never see my family again as a free man. I'll die in prison. And they go through all kinds of techniques, regression techniques. Dr. Corsi, imagine you're back in 2016. Who do you see? I said, well, what I see is, continue this nonsense, I'm going to tell you that in my former life I was Alexander the Great. I mean, this is a charlatan technique. And they yelled at me over my books that I couldn't, Aaron Zielinski, a prosecutor, said he'd read all my books. He listened to and I'm good at connecting facts and then lying. And so here's a guy who's, accusing me of being a nutcase conspiracy theorist, which is what Zielinski was doing. This is political. They don't like me politically. And since I can't connect Roger Stone to Assange, I don't think Roger Stone had a connection to Assange, directly or indirectly. It was of any significance. I'm suddenly going to have my life ruined. And when they got a plea deal, the plea deal was fraudulent, and it required that I swear I committed this crime of willingly and knowingly deceiving the federal authorities by presenting information that I knew to be false. It was intentional to lie. I did not intention to deceive them. I did not do that. So I refused to swear before God. I'd rather die in prison than tell a lie to God under oath. I'm not going to do it. And they can come away and cart me away today, which I thought they might do, charge me with whatever they want to charge me with, and I'll defend it in court. If I lose, the American people can understand that Mueller's entire investigation comes down to a 17-year-old author and reporter, conservative author and reporter, that Robert Mueller and Aaron Zielinski and Jeannie Reed, the prosecutors, don't like what I write because it's too conservative.
Jerry, you know that Jeannie Reed was the lawyer who defended the Clinton Foundation on a RICO case, Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act case that I brought in the Southern District of Florida a few years ago. She has a severe conflict of interest on this matter. She should never have been chosen as a prosecutor. Others do as well, like Andrew Weissman, Aaron Zielinski, and I believe there's another one by the name of Andrew Goldstein are on this matter, and they were the three. But there was something that Jeannie Reed asked you to do with regard to keeping your plea agreement, if you accepted it, confidential. And what were the ramifications of her asking you to do that or requiring that you do that with regard to another aspect of your professional life?
Well, I had to, according to Ms. Reed, I had to essentially retire. I could not publish. I couldn't do any political research. Anything I said, the plea deal was invalid. Prosecutors would say, well, we do recommend prison time. But Dr. Corsi, who admitted in front of this federal judge he's a felon, didn't follow our terms. I could go bankrupt, but yet I wouldn't be allowed even to report this to the bankruptcy proceeding because it had to be secret. It was all going to be sealed. I never knew you could be thrown, as cast as a felon, and no one could know about it. I wasn't going to be allowed to report it to my regulatory authorities for securities or insurance, which I'm required to do. Change in my material condition has to be reported. And so I was going to have to either violate regulations or commit crimes in order to meet the terms of their agreement. And Larry, I'm not going to do that. I'd rather die in prison than meet these terms. And, all the time being on browbeating, ask the same question over and over and over again by these prosecutors. Any little variation of my answer with, the seventh time they ask the same question, now you're lying, they say, because before you told us this and now you're telling us this. I said, just show me the emails you have that you want me to testify. No, we don't want you to be reconstructing. You have to testify truthfully about what these are without seeing them, and we're going to question you about them. We can see them, but you can't. And let me amend my testimony over and over again. Larry, my memory is not perfect. I can't remember the emails and the phone calls in 2016 with any precision at all, and yet I went through 40 hours. I came in to cooperate, and from the first day they made me think I was going to lose my freedom, and I couldn't tell them what they wanted, and I realized through the process that they're abusing me because they disagree with me politically, and they think my right I have to be because I don't agree with their leftist ideology. There's something wrong with my thinking. Jeannie, Zelensky says you don't know the difference between truth and false. You're so crazy, Dr. Corsi, that you pick this fact and this lie, and you package it so everybody will believe it. I had to sit there and be lectured by these prosecutors about my professional career. I've written 20 books since 2004, 7 of them New York Times bestsellers, 2 number 1 New York Times bestsellers. I defy Aaron Zelensky, any other nonfiction author with that record, that he's casting me as if I were in need of a psychologist because I can't answer his questions the way he wants them answered. And they won't listen to exculpatory. Say, right here, look at it. I've got these emails that prove this. Or what about this whole thing here about Huma Abedin? And I could prove she was sending her emails together. Dr. Corsi, we're not interested in those. They don't want to hear anything except they've got a predetermined hypothesis and conclusion. And if you can't give them information that fits into their predetermined conclusion, as Procrustean bed, then you're worthless and they're going to destroy your life. That's what it amounts to.
And that's the world we live in today, Jerry. I mean, we live in a world where the left is waging war on conservatives and the right. Anything, the ends justify the means, or the means justify the ends, whichever way you want to put it. And they're out to destroy you. It's not just with regard to you, but other aspects in our society today. I mean, there's violence in the streets. There are social media companies that are censoring and smearing conservatives. There's libel and slander. And of course, they wanted to work on you because you did excellent research determining that Obama's birth certificate is a fraud. Okay, now that's not with regard to any place he may or may not have been born. But, I subscribe to that, and many other honest people subscribe to that. But why I think they will be making a big mistake if they indict you, and I trust that they will not, and they'll have better sense than to do that, is that will give you a unique opportunity to challenge Mueller's mandate, the breadth of his investigation. He was given that by Rod Rosenstein, who now has been taken out of play by the president by putting Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker in, but also the constitutionality of his appointment, because he should have been confirmed by the Senate. And that would be a big mistake. And no one other than Jerry Corsi, really, with any gravitas, would then have the ability to take that issue perhaps all the way to the Supreme Court and get a positive ruling with a conservative majority. I want to get your thoughts about that.
Well, Larry, I think you're exactly right. With your assistance, you're extremely capable assistants and David Gray's extremely capable assistants, I believe my case is the case that's going to bring down Robert Mueller and this entire fraudulent facade of the special counselor's office and put these people under criminal investigation, which I believe they should be. That's why we're filing this criminal complaint. I don't intend to quit. I don't intend to give up. I don't intend to be afraid. I've already told them no. They can take their plea deal and keep it, and I'm going to stick by that. I'm not going to be cowered into a lie. If I have to die in prison, Larry, the American people will know from me that the justice system in America is run by criminals who are politically motivated. The criminals are in charge of our justice system, and this needs to be ended. And I'll be happy to sacrifice my life and my case to prove that point.
You know, Jerry, there was another person. He was more than a person. He was the Son of God, and I'm not equating either you or me to him. We can't do that. But no. He also stood up and didn't want to tell a lie that could have saved his life, you know, that he wasn't the Son of God, and he died on the cross for our sins. And, you know, we all need to take an example for that. Our founding fathers obviously risked their lives to form a new nation, and you are risking your future and your life for the good of the American people. So, you know, this is why I'm so proud to represent you, because I feel the same way. And you've been threatened. I've been threatened. Everybody around us has been threatened from time to time. And you cannot show that fear, because it's like walking down the street. If the dog, a vicious dog, thinks that you think that he's going to attack you, he will. And see, that's the mistake that I think a lot of the people in and around the Mueller investigation have made, is that, including the president so far, and I love the president, I know you do too, but he's kind of gone along with this whole thing, and he could have taken these actions sooner, and he could have challenged the authority of Mueller, and he could have brought lawsuits for the illegal surveillance on the Trump Tower himself, his family, and colleagues. But yet they're hoping for the best. It's almost like, you know, a streetcar named Desire, believing in the innocence of strangers, in this case, Robert Mueller. So that's where you are today. And, you know, as we wrap up this segment on Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman, I want you to try to tell people how they can help you, Jerry. I know you have a legal defense fund and you know, need to defend yourself, because this is going to be an expensive proposition. It's already brought you to your financial knees.
If people come to CorsiNation.com, CorsiNation.com, there are several different options there: GoFundMe and Donor Box and PayPal, where you can donate to me. Greatly appreciated. I've also written a book called Silent No More, and it's how I became a political prisoner of this Mueller witch hunt. And it's up on Amazon now. We're going to have the ebook and shortly the audio book. I want people to be able to read and hear. I'm going to do the audio book, this book, immediately. The hardcover will be out in October. I wrote this first person, so you can feel like you're sitting there with me, going through this horror story step by step. I wrote it like a thriller, which I think it's a political thriller, and you'll feel that when you go through the book. In conclusion, Larry, look, I'm saying to Robert Mueller, just go ahead and bring it on. I'm not afraid. I'll be, with your assistance and David Gray, I'm happy to fight this all the way to the Supreme Court. And I want my case to be the case that exposes, because I have firsthand inside knowledge from 40 hours. I can tell you what they did and what a horror show and travesty of justice. I give firsthand testimony of how these people behave, and I'm going to be happy to do so.
And I look forward to your help into the future after we put everything behind us, and we will. We're trying to change this legal system that we have. We have worse than a dual system of justice. We have no system of justice as it currently stands, because no one, save for you and me, David Gray and others, you know, people, our comrades in arms, so to speak, are willing to take on this huge Washington establishment of both political parties, Democrat and Republican. It's no secret that the Republican establishment also would like to see the president gone, because he breaks up their money train and their power. And they sit back and they watch this happen, you know, trying to keep their hands clean, so to speak. and hoping that someday they will be able to run their candidate for the president of the United States. So you're standing up for the president, and I know that he's paid attention to what you're doing and appreciates it greatly.
And I want to credit also my family, which has had to go through this ordeal, in particular my wife, who I am supported every moment of every day by her. And it's her strength and her willingness to stand up to this evil corruption in our justice system that has really encouraged me and permitted me to take this. And she has my undying love for her being willing to stand with me through this battle. It's not
well, Jared, we're a little bit out of time, but I agree. You have a great wife, and this is the kind of support you need to win this war. So thank you very much. Obviously, we're going to be in touch more than that in the days ahead. Thank you, Jerry. God bless.
Before he was a trial lawyer, he sliced him and diced him.
People used to ask me, Larry, what caused you to start Judicial Watch and now Freedom Watch, given the powerful forces in this country that put you at risk?
In a meat packing plant.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
A very special prosecutor, Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
This is the verdict portion of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. This is a momentous period in American history. It's a period when true patriots have to stand up and not be afraid. It's a period when we have to take a lesson from our founding fathers and our framers who pledged their sacred fortune and risked their lives to form a new nation. We just heard from Jerome Corsi, a distinguished journalist, New York Times bestseller, someone who's an investigative reporter who Special Counsel Robert Mueller is trying to destroy. And I talked a bit about our amending the lawsuit against social media companies, Google, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Apple, who are trying to stifle the free speech of conservatives. And that's in fact what Mueller is trying to do with Jerome Corsi as well, because he's written a new book revealing the deceit and corruption inside of the Mueller Office of Special Counsel. Not the first time he's done it. And this is why we need your support. We need your support at Freedom Watch. Go to freedomwatchusa.org. Contribute with tax-deductible contributions, because we are fighting to save the republic. We're in effect the legal defense firm of the President of the United States, because his lawyers are more interested in going on Fox News and cable networks and actually doing their job, regrettably. But we're also fighting privately. I'm fighting privately for Jerome Corsi, not just because what he's doing is so important, and we have the ability to end Mueller's reign of terror by taking it all the way to the Supreme Court, by starting a criminal investigation and hopefully triggering prosecutions of him and his staff for obstructing justice, witness tampering, and threatening witnesses, Dr. Corsi in particular. And that's why go to CorsiNation.com. CorsiNation.com. Contribute to his legal defense fund. This is very, very expensive. They brought him to his financial knees. They brought others to their financial knees, and he needs your support. And I want to finish by talking about Laura Loomer, who risked her own existence this week. It's something that she decided to do on her own. She went out there and she chained herself to the office building of Twitter in New York City. There was more security around her than you could ever believe, more than was even around the Ground Zero Mosque, which actually had ties to the terrorists at 9/11. They wanted to keep her from talking because the socialist, if not communist, mayor of New York City, Bill de Blasio, didn't want her to talk either. And certainly in collaboration with Twitter, with Facebook, she was removed from Facebook as well as Twitter. Her advocacy has been stifled and cut off. And that's what they're trying to do, the left. Okay, it's not just violence in the streets by Antifa, by Black Lives Matter, by others. It's not just rogue legal proceedings and prosecutions by Robert Mueller and people around him. It's not just Nancy Pelosi and her band of criminals in the House of Representatives that are going to be soon starting impeachment proceedings against the President of the United States to basically bring this country to a halt. It's not just Chuck Schumer over in the Senate and his equal band of criminals in the Judiciary Committee that tried to bring down a good man, Kavanaugh, who is now Supreme Court Justice, who, while I disagreed with some of his rulings, he is a good man, and he didn't deserve the treatment that he got. They tried to destroy him and his family. This is what we're up against today. It is a war. And Freedom Watch and Larry Klayman are trying to fight this war legally and peacefully. Of course, we also have our citizens' grand juries, which we're entitled to have, where we ourselves will bring indictments, where we ourselves will try the criminals, where we ourselves will sentence them, and we will ask the president to enforce those sentences. And if that does not happen peacefully and legally, we'll seek to mete out those sentences. And I'm talking about Bill and Hillary Clinton. I'm talking about Barack Obama. I'm talking about George Soros. I'm talking about former Attorney General Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch and the intelligence agency czars under Obama who have violated our constitutional rights. So go to freedomwatchusa.org. Please contribute generously to our cause. We are the mouse that roared. We are your Justice Department. And contribute to Jerry Corsi's Legal Defense Fund for the private defense of the Inquisition against him by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. We'll be back next week with another edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. Until then, God bless you, God bless your family, and God save the nation. Everything is on the line right now, and we need your support. God bless you.